Well, hello and welcome back to the Cinema of Transformation. This week's movie is The Matrix, the original from 1999. A lot has changed since then. This was kind of early on in internet, although it had been around a while. Most people at the time probably still had dial-up. And maybe some of the concepts brought up are even more pressing now as technology and computers and artificial intelligence have moved even further into our lives. But we're going to look at some other concepts primarily. We're going to look at dreaming and the dream world and the significance of dreams. There's a lot of dreaming references in this movie. Also, the difference between illusion and reality. Sometimes dreams seem real. There are cultures, at least one Aboriginal tribe from Australia, who actually believes that the waking world is the lesser of the two, and the dream time, or this dream world, when you go to sleep, that's actually the reality, and you just spend your days eating and taking care of your kids and, doing normal things to keep the body alive. Then you go to sleep, and then you're in the real world. So very, very interesting. Dreams have been hugely significant throughout history and different cultures, even today. And another concept we're going to look at is that of psychological integration. That is bringing all the pieces together to combine a whole. And whole, actually the word W-H-O-L-E, whole, comes from the same word that means healing. So holistic, it's actually whole, it's healing, that we are healed when we become whole and we're somehow sick or debilitated in some way when we have all these pieces floating around. So we're going to take a look at psychological integration. So this is The Matrix, 1999. And as we were talking about dreams and their importance, I'm going to bring up a couple. This first one, Daniel, from Daniel 2, I guess that's the Old Testament, is a Hebrew seer, wise person, and was called upon from the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar, and we'll see this as being the name of the ship in Morpheus' ship in The Matrix, Nebuchadnezzar. This would have been the mid-500s BCE, so about 2,500 years ago. And it's according to the Bible. And Daniel was brought in to interpret Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Several had tried, all had been punished or executed for not being able to do it. But Daniel was able to do it. And that's perhaps why Nebuchadnezzar was used as the name of the ship in The Matrix. Constantine, a real figure, as far as we know, the Emperor Constantine, he was the last of the Roman emperors and really the first to usher in the so-called Christian era in the 300s of the current era, CE. And he had a dream the night or just before a battle where he saw a cross, the clouds parting in the sky, and this luminous cross appeared. And somebody had interpreted it that if they put the cross on their swords and on their armor and they go into battle dressed like this, that they would win, and not only win, that then, and this is actually what happened, Constantine did convert the Roman Empire to Christianity. So it went from being something really despised. Christians were thrown to the lions in the Roman Colosseum. And now with Constantine and this amazing dream that he had and his victory in battle, made Christianity the law of the land in the empire. And today, modern depth psychology from Carl Jung and others really place a lot of importance on dream interpretation because, like the ancients, there is this belief that somehow something is communicated from the dream world that is relevant and very necessary for us to know in our waking lives. So it's a message from maybe a higher part of ourselves. A lot of concepts about dreams. This is one of them. And like I said, dreams get explored a lot, at least the notion of dreams in this movie. So it brings it up. Also, Neo, according to Morpheus, is believed to be the one that is going to save everybody, that he's chosen, this chosen child, the golden child, to do this. Of course, Neo has no idea about this, really doesn't believe it. Some of the other people on the ship don't believe it. Maybe they hope it is. But it brings up the question, do we have free will, or are our lives determined by fate beforehand, predestined? Certainly, we can give a lot of examples on free will, that we can do this, we can do this. I can speak in a high voice, or I can speak in a low voice. Of course, we have free will that reigns over many things that we do, but do we have free will over everything? One notion that, or a metaphor, I guess, is that of video games, that sure, while you're playing the game, you have free will to, drive the car or shoot the gun or, jump off the cliff or whatever the gaming environment wants you to do. But you don't have free will over the world, that is fated, that is created, the world in which you have this free will to move around. Okay, so maybe within some boundaries, there's free will. But it's an interesting notion and a very deep psychological and philosophical thought that people have been working on for thousands of years. And I don't think we've really come up with the answer, but we don't always have to come up with the answers. We just have to approach these questions and embrace the mystery. And I'll be looking forward to hearing what you have to say about free will and destiny in the comment sections in the forum discussion. Okay, and lastly, there's a concept from Carl Jung called individuation. It is a process, the process of individuation. And this is where a person becomes completely whole, indivisible, that they cannot be divided within themselves. You've heard the term, a house divided will fall. A house divided within itself will fall. This is not falling. This is being strong. This is indivisible. It doesn't mean you're individual in the sense that you don't need anybody else, but you don't need anybody else to be you. That you, as a person, are complete and whole. Again, this concept of unity is brought forth again. So we'll take a look at that as we go through this. Now, the hero of the story is Neo, or Mr. Anderson in the Matrix world. And he is a hacker. I guess he's a computer whiz. He's pretty good at what he does. He sleeps a lot. As a matter of fact, the first time we meet him, he's told to wake up. Sometimes the phone rings. Good morning is heard a lot. He's sleeping and he wakes up a lot. And that's kind of a theme of what this movie is about. Whether you're asleep in the Matrix and then you're awake when you get released. Even the Buddha, when people asked him, are you enlightened? His response was, no, I am awake. So this awareness, this awakeness, really has a lot to do with integration and spiritual enlightenment. Now, Neo is new. It means new. So he's the novice. He's the initiate. He knows next to nothing when we meet him, and he knows almost everything at the end. So we get to go along the ride with him. So all the questions that he has are ones that we would have because we are exposed and we learn about this world through Neo, believed to be the chosen one. Now he's reluctant to accept that or even believe it, that that's his destiny. But he learns and grows and, who's to say he's not at that point? So that is part of his process of accepting who he is in the larger sense. Now, the word Neo, N-E-O, is an anagram for one. And that is who he is believed to be, is the one. The one, not a one part, but one meaning the whole. That singularly, he is the one that will bring, in the Zen sense, bring everyone together as one and save the people, the human race, from this machine intelligence that has them all imprisoned in the Matrix. Now, the mentor is Morpheus. Morpheus gets his name from the Roman god of dreams. That's where we get the word morphine. So again, this dream, his ship is the Nebuchadnezzar. So we have this dream theme going on and on again. But he's the leader. He's the captain of this ship. He is the protector. He wants to find Neo, who he believes is the one to save everyone. So he has, very much a position of responsibility and authority and leadership. Very, very strong, strongest character in the picture. That is until Neo gets awakened. And as many mentors do, they either have to leave or somehow be incapacitated. In this case, he gets captured, which may actually be part of the plan because it prompts Neo to take action on his own that maybe he wouldn't have had Morpheus been available to say, well, should we do this? Should we not do this? No, he had to stand on his own because Morpheus, his mentor, was not there. Very important role, or very important act that the mentor has to do. Remember, Obi-Wan had to die, for this to take place. So Morpheus has to almost die, but he gets captured by the agents in the Matrix. Now, the lover, Trinity. Speaking of unity, Trinity is this threefold unity, body, mind, and spirit. Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost from scriptural traditions. And there's nothing more stable than a three-legged table. So this, that's why tripods are used for cameras. They're very, very stable, very whole. And this threefold unity gets used a lot. In science, water can be ice, it can be liquid water, it can be steam, these three states of matter. Well, actually, there's four if you include plasma. But this Trinity is what is needed to complete everything. And since they are in the computer world, this matrix, as we know, the computer language, binary code, is made up of zeros and ones. So you have this binary language. It's either on, off, 0, 1, or off, on, I guess, 0, 1. And combinations of that, you can really make everything. But she transcends this. She brings in this third element, that it's not either this or that. It's neither either on or off. It's this extra power of love. It's the path of the heart, the spirit that motivates, that inspires, that completes in a way that just a person in a machine really can't without this love factor. So in addition to being the actual lover in the movie, she represents love, beauty, that which is wonderful and sweet. Again, like Rocky, in a world that is very harsh, very unloving, very unwelcoming, very much not those things. So that makes her role that much more important. Okay, now we have another character. This is the Oracle, in some ways a mentor. She is the one who is to reveal the prophecy, whether or not Neo is the one. She gives a lot of cryptic advice. Her answers are really caged in nuance, and really it's almost like a Zen master that really answers questions with questions, or presents things in a way that really causes the seeker to dig deeper and bring up their own conclusions. Okay, so it's not so much over-the-top advice. She's an interesting character. She's in a home, and she's in the kitchen. She's baking cookies. She's all, very, very nice and warm and welcoming. And then she has a foul mouth. She smokes cigarettes. She drinks highballs in the afternoon. So it's really kind of a complex character. And she also, speaking of, the Greek philosophy, she has the saying over her door, know thyself. And that is really the crux of the matter, that Neo has to really know who he really is. This would be the self with a capital S in depth psychology. So this is the Oracle, and she gives the right advice that Neo needs to hear. It may not be the exact answer to the question, but that doesn't always give you the answer. Okay? The answer is not always the answer. If you just look to the back of the book and, okay, the answer to number 39 is C, well, then you get the answer right, but what did you learn? Nothing. So by her giving Neo maybe misleading or contradictory or at least cryptic advice, that causes Neo to dig deeper and find out really what it means for him and his situation. Okay, which is something that a really good teacher can do. Now, there are allies. There are the crew members on the ship. We have Apoc. And when you look at his name, Apoc, it really means to uncover. It's like the apocalypse. Now, often when you think of the apocalypse, you think about, well, it's Revelation and it's Armageddon and it's the end of the world and it's end times and everything. But apocalypse is actually a revelation to reveal, to uncover that which is covered. And not surprisingly, Apoc is the actual person who pulls Neo out of the Matrix. So that's Apoc and Switch, the girl with the platinum hair. Now Switch, on, off, 0, 1. That's binary code. It's on or off, this switching back and forth. And even that plays through in her character. She points a gun at Neo at one point early on, and threatens to kill him. I guess that would be the off switch. And then later on when she is killed, it is literally by turning off a switch how she gets killed. And next to her in this picture is Mouse. Of course, we know Mouse from the computer peripheral. I'm using one now. But also he's kind of mousy. He's little, kind of innocent, has kind of a way about him. But he's also, very talented as far as a computer hacker. Now we have these two brothers, Tank and Dozer. One looks like he's built like a tank. The other one looks like he's built like a bulldozer. But that's not really what their names mean. Tank, that which we know of as a tank, an armored vehicle, was never really named a tank. In World War I, as they were being shipped out to Europe for the war, they just wrote that on the crates as a diversion, like a tank, like it's a water tank or a gas tank or just an empty bin. Normal use of the word tank. But that was really, for deception. And of course, we have all the deception in the Matrix as well, too. So it was really a code word, tank. And then it stuck. Then the thing just became known as a tank, an armored vehicle. And then Dozer, very much like a tank with the treaded wheels, treaded tracks. But Dozer, one who sleeps. So we have this same sleeping theme going on with Dozer. All right, then another member of the ship, Cipher, he is really more of an opponent than an ally. You think he's an ally at the first. He maybe thinks he is, but he changes his tune. And his name, we know from coding, to decipher something, that you cipher and then decipher. You code and encode, code and decode. But the word cipher also means zero or void. Again, we have the 0 and the 1 with Cipher and Neo, and they're very much connected. Cipher is sort of the shadow element of Neo's light side. He becomes a traitor, and he betrays the whole ship and the whole crew because he wants back into the Matrix. He doesn't like the real world. He would rather forget and be ignorant and go back into that world and have a normal life and eat the food that's not real food, but just go back to sleep in the womb. It's like the horse going back to the barn or wanting to run back to the womb. It's a very childlike instinct that he has, and he's really had enough of the real world and wants to go back. So that's Cipher. Now, the Matrix itself is also an opponent. That is really the main problem. Is that this Matrix, this prison that houses all these people, keeps them alive, but their waking lives are really a dream, a computer program in the Matrix. But it's an interesting word, the Matrix. It's a very feminine term. Mater, or where we get matter. Material is another word for mother. That's where that word came from. Even the suffix trix, like aviatrix, is a female pilot. It's probably an antiquated term by now, but that's also feminine. So it's a double feminine word. And here it is. Oh my gosh, this harsh prison. Wow, how could it be motherly, this Matrix? But it really is, because it actually is this womb that they're in. They stay in the womb for their whole lives, this artificial womb of the Matrix. So that's the prison there. The mind is free to go, just like when we're asleep. And again, they live out what they feel like or seems like is their life. But it's really just a virtual reality computer program. There's also a Eastern notion that the world is Maya, that it's all illusion, and that the real world is something that we really can't comprehend, ultimate reality. But we live in this world of form, and it's an illusion, although it seems real. So something else to think about when we're dealing with the Matrix. And specifically, within the Matrix, we have these agents. Now, the word agent can mean doing or something that is a catalyst to cause action to take place. And they do through their negative attitudes and wanting to track down Neo, wanting to get in the way of all the efforts that Morpheus and the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar are doing. So this is law enforcement, authority, really the face of the oppressive nature of the Matrix, personification of the computer program. They are definitely tricksters and shapeshifters. They can put themselves in anybody else's body who is also in the Matrix. And they have powers that really nobody else has. But as we see in the movie, Morpheus believes that even so, they still have to abide by the rules in the Matrix, which is why he believes that Neo somehow can crack the code, can get beyond that, can see the source code, and eventually be in a position where he can surpass the agents or anybody else in the Matrix because he'll know the hard code. Okay, so those are the agents or sentinels that they take over. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the hero's journey because I want you to do this for your paper, but very quickly we find out initially that Neo is seeking the answers to the question, what is the Matrix? And he gets visited by Trinity relatively early on, is called again, and finally is arranged for him to be picked up where he has the choice whether or not to take the red pill or the blue pill. So there's a huge hesitation to take it on, but he does, and it has to be a conscious choice. We see this a lot with the call to adventure. It's initially denied or refused, but when it's accepted very directly, deliberately, and consciously. Now, through the initiation phase, the second part of the hero's journey, after Neo goes through some trials and tests, and he learns jujitsu and some other things in the Matrix, and some things outside of the Matrix, what the real world is like. But at some point, Morpheus decides that Neo is ready to go see the Oracle, and this is about exactly halfway through the picture, halfway through this middle section of initiation. And it is from this point forward that the movie takes a stronger turn. Yes, the goal is still the same, but it takes on new meaning, new intensity, because shortly thereafter, Morpheus is captured. A couple of members are killed as a result of Cipher's betrayal. I also see here in this picture, there's a threshold guardian. There's a door person, only allowing Neo in, not Morpheus, to go see the Oracle. So that's kind of interesting. There's a lot of threshold guardians. There are a lot of gateways, passageways, in and out and through, all throughout the movie. And with this betrayal from Cipher, this is the appointment with death. There are a few deaths of a few crew members. There is the almost death and capture of Morpheus. And certainly death is imminent. Unless something is done about it, and that's exactly what Neo and Trinity do. In the return, they go back into the Matrix, literally returning back in to rescue Morpheus. And there's even a establishing scene, or there's a location that we see at this point when they return that was also at the very, very beginning with Trinity. So it is a definite return, kind of the same place in the Matrix. And at this point, Neo has to face the agents alone because that's usually how it goes. Okay, no mentor. But he does have supernatural help. He does have this chosen persona or thrust upon him. And he has learned some things, and he is a good hacker, and he believes something, and he has this power of love coming from Trinity. And you can see in this bottom picture, he now sees the code. He becomes one with the Matrix. And in doing so, then he is able to defeat the enemy. So that's the Matrix for now. I want you to, I'll give you the assignment in the Moodle, but I really kind of want you to do what I had been doing on a couple of these with the timeline. Tell me where I guess I just kind of told you, but I want you to map out the story according to the hero's journey and some of the major points that happen along the way. A little bit more about that in the assignment. So that's the Matrix for now, and enjoy the movie.